This podcast is brought to you in part by some really cool people. I like to call them my Patreon podcast producers. Make sure you check them out on Instagram. Daryl at Your Level Fitness and Amy at Gym of the Gym. That's GEM of the GYM. Give them a follow. Show some love. They are helping to make all this possible. And stay tuned at the end of the show for more details on how you can join this awesome group and have your name read right here alongside them. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Oh, yeah! So here's what happened. I'll explain to you and the listeners because I think telling people what an idiot I was for the last 5 minutes, at least somebody will get some entertainment out of this. So I just got this new equipment, and this, I swear to God, this is not a plug. There's commercials at the end of the show, but I had announced a couple of days ago on my Instagram that some of my Patreon subscribers had donated some money, and I was able to buy a new piece of equipment so that we could do, over the phone, Skype interviews. And so I was going to plug all this stuff in, and what had happened was I was plugging in the wrong cable for the one that goes into the computer so I can hear you. I was plugging in a cable that wasn't even plugged in, and I'm cranking it up, and I hear all this buzzing, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I just got this piece of equipment, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why it's not working. And sure enough, I realize I've got the wrong damn cable plugged in. And so now I'm like feverishly trying to yank this cable away, trying to get it as far away from everything else as possible so that I can plug in the right cable at 1 minute past. Because Jack, one thing that you didn't get to learn about me today that most people already know is that I'm usually on time, sometimes a minute early. And today I was a minute late. And so I just wanted to apologize. Even though you obviously sound like you're in a great mood, probably could care less, probably didn't even know. And I just went through 2 minutes here explaining all this for really no good reason.
Oh man, look, I was perfectly fine with it. I was just chilling here waiting for the call. I thought, yeah, it might be a couple of minutes late, but it happens, my man.
Yeah. So if I have this right, because this is like only the second time I've ever spoken to somebody from Australia. I've done a podcast interview with somebody else from Australia. So if I understand this correctly, it is 11:30 your time right now. It is Friday.
Yeah. So it's 11:30 a.m. over here in little old Tasmania in Australia, mate.
So essentially what you're telling me, Jack, is that in fact, and this is actually a fact, you are from the future.
Yes, 100%. I am from the future.
Now, do you have a DeLorean? Do you travel through time? Or how does this time travel stuff work? Because I am just flabbergasted. I am highly, highly intrigued at the possibility that I am now talking to somebody from the future.
Look, unfortunately, I'm not rich enough to afford the DeLorean, but I do love the hoverboard. So
the hoverboard is legit, Jack.
Yeah, I go with the hoverboard more than the DeLorean, but right. Yeah.
Here's a funny thing about that, and I know there's got to be at least a couple of nerds that listen to this podcast, so bear with me, people. If you go on eBay and you look up DeLorean, now I don't know how many DeLoreans there are on your side of the world in the future, but over here in the States, people have like dozens of listings of DeLoreans, and I am nowhere near wealthy enough to afford one myself. That's why I'm driving a Toyota Corolla, which is very nice still. And so I look at these things sometimes for fun because what the hell, why not? And what I have found is that if you're willing to take a project car, one that you don't mind working on, and obviously I know nothing about working on cars, but if I did, for about 12 to 15,000, I could buy a beat up DeLorean and fix it up The dream, like here's the dream, Jack. If I ever hit it like multi-millionaire, I'm probably gonna buy a DeLorean, and I'm gonna just pay somebody to make it look like the car from the movie.
Man, you're a smart man. I could not blame you for doing that.
Yeah, like I'm literally gonna order it on eBay. I'm gonna find the best looking one, and then I'm gonna like Google whoever rebuilds these things and makes them like the movies. And maybe I'll even hire Universal. Like, here's $1 million. I want you to soup this car up. And like, I'm never gonna drive the damn thing. I mean, this is obvious. Let's just be honest. It's never gonna get driven because I don't even think it'll be street legal once you put hovercraft and all that other stuff on it. You put the little coffee maker in the back. I don't think it's even gonna be street legal. Well, what the hell? Let's go. And then
it'll just be a major showpiece.
It'll be a major showpiece, and then maybe we can get it over there. I could probably fly it over there, or you can travel through time over here to the past to where I have the car.
I'll fly the hoverboard over to you
Perfect.
to get to the DeLorean.
Perfect. I love it. We're living out childhood fantasies of reenacting Back to the Future. I love this. We're off to a great start. We have never spoken before, Jack. Never.
No, we haven't. We've only communicated via Instagram. So, yeah, this is off to a perfect start, my man.
I know, right? Now, tell me, how did we get linked up? I always, the thing about Instagram is you talk to so many people, and that's what I love about this community. You meet so many people. I have a hard enough time trying to keep up with everybody. How do you recall us linking up?
So, I was originally, basically I follow Jarp's Journey, or J Arp's Journey,
yes,
on Instagram, and I have for a while now. And when he put up the link to his recent podcast with you, I had to listen to that, and I thought, wow, like this is some pretty deep and hectic stuff. Like, and he's talking about his journey, and then I go onto your journey and see where you've come from as well, and it's just like it's amazing stuff, and that's what motivates me to keep going in my journey. And through that link of John coming on your show, I was able to find you, man.
Well, see, that's the magic of Instagram. That's how it works.
Absolutely.
I love that. I appreciate what you said. And yes, we get very deep here. And that's just because this is a place where I want people to understand this that have never been on the show. Generally we've never talked before, maybe, on Instagram, and then I get you on the show, and then we just go like we go wherever we want it to go. Like it's a natural conversation. There ain't no script. I don't have a paper full of questions. And that's what I love about it too, because this is the opposite of like what people on radio and podcasts do. And I've been at this for this is my 12th year now of doing podcasting and internet radio and all that stuff. And this is completely the opposite. Now, normally in radio, you have a preparation sheet. You have different bits and segments and different things you're going to talk about. You have somebody on the show, you're going to interview them. You have a round, you have a whole list of questions, and you start running off of them. And what do? I literally plug it in. I call you, I hit record, and that's it. There's nothing else to it.
Literally, man. Like I expected, like, because I've done like radio interviews in the past, and as you mentioned, usually they'll give me a heads up. They'll say, oh yeah, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that. But I got a message from you. You're like, hey man, do you still want to record? And I'm like, yep. I've now got to think of what to talk about. And yeah, it's just a chat, my man.
That's right. And obviously the first place that I want to go with this, Iron Lungs. I like the name, by the way. I love the name.
Thanks, man.
Where does this name come from? Now, I have to pretend that I've never looked at your page because we have a whole bunch of people that potentially have not been on your page. So this is the part where I have to play dumb and pretend like I don't know anything about you, and we have to we have to tell the whole story and all that. But tell me first about where your Instagram name came from, Iron Lungs.
Iron Lungs. So basically, about 3 or 4 years ago now, I recorded my first documentary with a friend down here in Tassie. He was nice enough to actually choose me as his Year 12 media project, because he'd been friends with me for a while before that, and he knew my story and my journey so far. And the actual title of the documentary was Iron Lungs, My Life with Cystic Fibrosis. And I just kind of, I really fell in love with the name.
Yeah.
And a lot of people started calling me by Iron Lungs, and I just decided, hey, what the hell, like, why not make this my thing? And I changed it to my name on Instagram. I changed it from my stupid 12-year-old name, whatever I'd put it on in the first place.
Yeah.
Probably like Jackie _ Dyson something or other.
Right.
But I changed it to that, and I've gone with it ever since, man.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned the cystic fibrosis. Now, this is the one thing I don't know anything about. I'm not educated on this. And so this is a good chance for you to smarten me up and smarten the whole world up here. Cause tell us what this is all about. Is this something that you had since birth? Is that how it works? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So it's a genetic condition. It is a terminal illness. So it's basically what happens is it does happen from birth in the majority of cases.
Okay.
There has been some cases where people have found it later on in life, but it doesn't happen very often. So I was diagnosed at 11 days old. So what happens is my mum and my dad would have had the one of each gene.
Right.
So when they obviously produced me, there was no family history of cystic fibrosis or anything like that. And I was just the lucky one that happened to pop out with it. And so from then on in, it's been a pretty tough journey. My lungs don't function the same way that a normal person's would. It affects the lungs and the pancreas. They're the two major organs, but it does also affect all of our other major organs like your liver, your kidney. We have the high potential of liver and kidney failure. Also, we can develop diabetes through it,
right.
Rheumatoid arthritis. It's just the list goes on and on with the problems that can happen, my man.
How common is this disease?
It's not the most common thing in the world, but a lot more. This is the way I like to describe it: is a lot more people have it than you think do.
Right.
Like, because it is a very invisible illness, and if you saw me normally, like if these people go and check out my Instagram and all my socials, like you would look at me the same way that you do anybody else, because there's no physical sign that I have CF. Like,
I see. That's that's very interesting that you say that. And I know what you mentioned earlier about it being a terminal thing. Now, is there like a general like window of expectancy, like in a perfect world, you treat it as you should routinely? Like how often or how long do people generally live with this condition?
So this is the semi-scary part. The current life expectancy is 37.
37. I'm turning 37 this year.
Yeah, it's a scary thing to think about, man.
How old are you?
I'm 22 this year, so I'm 21 at the moment.
Okay, all right.
So it's a bit of a scary thing to think about. Like, I guess I could turn around and say that my life's half over. But I like to think of it as it's kind of just a number that's there. It's not set in stone.
Sure.
It's obviously the average life expectancy of people, but I know that if I treat my body right, if I do the right things, I can hopefully outlive that. But at the end of the day, it does come down to the fact that I know that my body can take a turn for the worse even when I hang up this phone. Like, it can happen at any stage.
And that's the interesting thing to me, because, like I'm on this podcast a lot. I talk about, and I want to make this as clear as possible to people listening. There are people like me who are overweight and we take life for granted, and we just walk around this earth as if we're expected to be here. We kind of exist. We don't really make the most of it in most situations. I can tell you that almost 5 years ago now, I nearly died from a bacterial infection in my leg. It had nothing to do with my weight loss, but my weight loss certainly did not help my chances of survival there. And so when I say that literally we have one life on this earth and we had better make the most of it, I mean it. So when you come on here and you say that you have this condition, cystic fibrosis, and you could literally go at any time, the average expectancy is about 37 years. I mean, that is the literal, truth of this. We are not guaranteed anything in life.
Absolutely not, my man. And that's exactly. Oh, sorry, man.
That's fine.
That's exactly how I like to live my life. Is that we're not guaranteed anything. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. Like, I really love to travel.
Yeah.
And something that it's probably something that isn't majorly advised with CF is to travel as much, because obviously when we get on planes, there's a much higher risk of getting a cold or catching something that's going through the aircon and
Sure.
coming back around. And there's always the potential of getting sick. But I always look at it as, well, if I'm going to get sick, I may as well do it doing something that I love. And I did a lot last year. I took a semi gap year, in my opinion. It wasn't anything major. I didn't travel to the States, or I didn't travel and go overseas, but any concert that was on last year, because I'm a big fan of music. I love, like, my wrestling, as you probably would have seen.
Oh, I'm a big wrestling fan too.
Oh man, I love it. Like, I went to Super Showdown last year, which was
kidding.
the second pay-per-view in Australia. And I bought the VIP front row package, man, and I just went all out. I'm not gonna lie, it cost me an arm and a leg, but I did it because, hey, what if things do happen to take a turn for the worst in the next couple of months or tomorrow or whenever? Like, I can say that I sat front row at a WWE pay-per-view, and not many people get to say that. Like,
yeah,
and especially if you're a wrestling fan, like, I'm sure you can appreciate how awesome it would be. And it's just like, I can tick that off the bucket list, man. And if, as a wrestling fan, obviously there's a couple more things that I want to do, but I could probably say tomorrow, okay, if it happens, it happens. I've ticked that off my bucket list, man.
WrestleMania, is that one of the bucket list items?
Oh, it's on there, man. Don't get me wrong. Like, it is on there. That is definitely the next goal. But yeah, in terms of it, like the condition taking over, if I got really sick tomorrow and I couldn't do what I wanted to do anymore, I could say that I'm happy, man.
Definitely. Well, I can identify with the front row thing. I'm assuming you have the WWE Network, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you go back to SummerSlam 2005, and I won't get too nerdy here because I know some people will roll their eyes and we'll lose people here. But if you go back on the network, SummerSlam 2005, Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan, and you watch the network at the very beginning of the show, when they're going from the different announce tables, they go from Coach and somebody over to the Spanish. And when they go to Taz and Cole, you'll see me directly in the middle behind Taz and Cole, front row, with a Hulkamania shirt on.
Oh, man, you know what I'm doing straight after this, man. I'm going straight on there to find you, my dude.
Yeah, you'll see me with my old spiked hair. I'm about 100 pounds lighter. And, man, you know what's funny is because back then I was like, man, 220, I feel like such a fat ass. I'm like, now I'm like, geez, if I can get down to 220, and I will, it's not if, it's when. But when I get down to 220, I'm going to be thrilled about that.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Like, we look at ourselves in completely different lights at different stages of our life. Like, I look back and when I was a kid, and it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was really tough growing up with CF. Like, I dealt with my fair share of being left out and kind of not being the popular kid. Kind of sometimes I got a little bit bullied because when I was a kid, I didn't really care about CF much because I didn't know a whole lot about it, and I didn't really try to educate myself on it. And I'd skip my medications. I wouldn't do this one. I wouldn't do that one, and I would regret it. And I'd be coughing like a madman. I'd be spending so much time on the toilet because my pancreas wouldn't be working, and that didn't help my self-confidence, I think, like you could say, back in the day to try and get out there and try and make more friends. Like, I had a very close-knit group of friends who stuck by me, and they're still around me today. But like growing up, it was quite tough because it was probably mostly my fault because I didn't educate myself enough on CF and what it was actually doing to my body to skip all these medications that I needed to just live day to day.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to ask about, going back to your childhood, and you mentioned being bullied. Was it like kind of known amongst the kids that you had this condition, or were they just bullying you because they didn't like you?
Oh, look, it was a bit of both, man. There was some who did know about my condition. I was obviously a bit of a extrovert or introvert. I don't know the exact word.
Meaning you're shy? Introvert,
I was
yeah.
really shy.
Introvert, yeah.
So I was really shy. I was kind of the kid that liked all the odd things, the one who didn't fit into the crowd.
Right.
And I guess that came with the territory, and then with my condition on top of that, like all the coughing, like back in the day of primary school, you'd have kids who would bully you because you cough a lot, and you're the germ freak, you're the germaphobe. Oh my God, don't touch him because he's going to get you sick.
Yeah.
Just all that sort of stuff. And as little as that sounds, it took a pretty big toll on how I'd approach people.
Right.
And yeah, it was not easy, my man. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it probably made you a little nervous to want to talk to new people, right? Because you just weren't sure how they would react to you or something of that nature.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I wouldn't want to tell people about my condition, like, because what if they turned around and said, "Oh, you're that germy kid," or "You're the one who coughs a lot," or "the one who spends half an hour on the toilet each time and always has to take toilet trips." Yeah, it did scare me a lot.
So in a way, it sounds like that maybe the bullying probably made you even more introverted, being that you didn't really want to or you were kind of, nervous to interact with new people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, I didn't want to interact with anyone growing up. Like, back in high school, I had probably 3 or 4 friends that were serious friends. And one of my best friends, he's in a wheelchair. He has muscular dystrophy. So we kind of connected on the level of, okay, we're sort of the odd ones out. We're both going through something. Let's kind of do it together.
Right.
And we've stuck together since, it would have had to be grade 4 or 5, and now we're both 21, and we've stuck together, and we'd spend every lunchtime and like recess. I don't know what it's called over there. I'll probably stuff that one up, but
right.
we spent every break period inside, basically without anybody around. We'd have the 3 of us who would stay inside. We'd chat, we'd talk weird stuff. We'd talk about the wrestling because he's a big wrestling fan as well. And we'd just kind of hide away from everybody.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that happened. And yeah, it just made me so much more of an introvert than I probably wanted to be.
Well, probably even so, like as you got older, and you wanted to potentially date people, that probably did not help, as far as like, trying to like meet a girl, pick up, talk to a girl. It probably made it very difficult.
Oh, 100%, man. And the more you say that, like, I've never had a girlfriend. I'm 21.
No way. I don't believe that. Hold on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm going through your Instagram right now. You're buff as hell, man. Okay. You're buff. You look good. You're a young man. You look terrific. I don't believe that for a second.
I don't have like it's hard to, in my eyes, see myself in that way. Like, I can turn into that guy and be like, oh yeah, talking to a chick on, if you got like Instagram or Facebook,
sure.
And I can message them and I'll be 100% fine to do that. but then you get me in a situation where I actually have to talk to them face to face.
Right.
Oh man, you get that little 12-year-old Jack that is too scared to talk to anybody and too scared to say anything to anyone. And I guess I kind of worry as well about what that person's going to think about my CF
Yeah.
and how they're going to adapt to it, because at the end of the day, it's a big burden that I kind of carry around, and I'm taking 40 to 60 tablets a day.
Wow.
I'm doing 30 to 45 minutes of inhaled nebulizers, one that makes me cough like an absolute madman trying to get all the stuff up, and the other one that is trying to make me breathe just that little bit better.
Right.
And I kind of feel really scared to do that around anybody else.
Sure. I understand that.
Yeah, so I kind of just lock myself up. I do what I got to do, and then I'll go out and be the other Jack. So there's two sides to me. There's the introvert that has to hide almost everything that he does, and then there's the other Jack who just gets out there and does what he has to do.
Wow, and that's a lot of medicine you're taking there. Like I know here in the States, getting medication is ridiculously expensive. How is it over there? Like, what is your healthcare situation like over there? Is it relatively expensive to, for these kind of treatments?
I'm probably in an extremely lucky boat, man, where our healthcare system is quite good compared to America.
Yeah.
So we're not too much out of pocket with this stuff. So the major tablet that I take is my Creon, which is the one that digests all the fats and the proteins from the food that I eat, so that because of my pancreas not functioning right, that's what gets in there and kind of breaks it down so it stays in. And then I also take, you've got hypertonic saline, which is the inhaled one that makes me cough like a madman. And then after that, I do something called Pulmozyme, which will get in there and kind of keep everything at bay. And then I'll take another drug called Orkambi, which has just actually become listed on the PBS, which is the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme here in Australia. And originally that was $250,000 a year.
Wow.
And now it is down to $6.40 per script.
Oh my goodness. That is that's insane. I mean, I just think about it, if somebody having that condition living here in the States, I mean, they'd be bankrupt, they'd be in debt. It'd be like a freaking, they'd have to put a second mortgage on the house or something to survive.
100%, my man. And that's where I kind of like, I watch the news and I kind of wish that I did live in the States, because I love the States. I've been there twice. I've done LA, Vegas, Florida, all those kinds of places. And I absolutely love it. And one day I'd love to see myself living there, but I know that is just going to be not plausible in my eyes, because how the hell can I afford to live there with the medications and the hospital trips? Because people going to hospital over there are out of pocket immensely.
Right. Now, all your treatments, that's all stuff that you can do yourself, or do you have to visit a hospital regularly to like keep checked up on it, or how does that work?
So the majority of the treatments that I do are done at home. I go to the doctors every 2 to 3 months just to get a checkup of the lung function, the weight, just see how I'm going. And if things aren't great at that time, because obviously I know how I feel, but then the results can come back and tell me, okay, well, your lung function's not 100% where it needs to be.
Sure.
So I may have to go into hospital to get what they call a tune-up. And basically they shove a PICC line in my arm that goes from roughly my bicep up to my top of my heart. And they feed some really strong antibiotics into me, depending on what I've potentially caught. And they feed that into me, and hopefully after about 2 weeks of intensive antibiotic treatment and intensive physiotherapy, I should be good to go again.
Wow. And then, so how many times a day are you taking medication? I don't think I caught
So,
that.
so every time that I eat, I have to take tablets. So I'm taking. So obviously, I eat some pretty big meals, trying to put on the size.
Sure.
And it can be anywhere between 3 and 4 tablets per dose for that. A snack can be anywhere between 1 to 2. So you think if I'm eating 5 meals a day, popping 4 pills each time for that, then you've got the Orkambi on top of that, you got snacks on top of that. Like it adds up really quick, man.
Yeah, that's when you're talking about like traveling to the States, and I just couldn't imagine like a plane ride. To me, that sounds like that would be just crazy because, planes are kind of, I mean, if you're like me, you're buying the cheap seats and those aren't very comfortable to begin with. The bathrooms are pretty small. You're in this confined area. And I how long is that flight from Australia to the States?
I believe the last one we did, which was in 2015, would have been about 14 hours.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
And there ain't no stopping.
It was a long trip.
Yeah, and there ain't no stopping with that. That's like nonstop, right?
Yeah, so that's from Melbourne we usually fly out of. So, and to get from Tassie to Melbourne or from Tassie to Sydney, it's about an hour and 15 minutes from Tassie to Melbourne, and then about 2 hours from Tassie to Sydney.
Wow. That's insane.
So it's pretty hectic, man.
I could imagine. I was actually just looking at. I'm still scrolling through photos here, just seeing what I can see here, and you talk about the guy behind the scenes, the guy that's the nervous, the introvert, taking all the medication, and then the jack that everybody else sees from the outside. And this is kind of the thing about Instagram, right? Like people, they look at you and they have a certain perception of what they think you are. Like I find this photo here from December the 8th. You're wearing a Stone Cold Broken Skull Ranch. You're flexing. People are scrolling through this thing. They're like, man, look at this guy. He's looking sharp. He's buff, and they just don't know what's going on. And that's why I like, going through your page and you're sharing, your journey, and it makes it a very real thing. It's not like you're just, posing in front of Ferraris and private jets and stuff. This is like real life.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like to do. Like I don't like to hide behind the disease. Like
right.
because for so long I kind of let it define who I was and kind of let it define what I was doing with myself, and I really did tend to lose myself. And even to this day, man, I still go through bouts where I lose who I am as a person and lose like what I am, and I've gained. I shouldn't say gained because it's not what I wanted to gain, but I've gotten like pretty severe depression and anxiety from having to deal with all this stuff over the years. Like it's as much as I can let it be, it's still there and it's always going to be there. Like I can still recall. Like this will probably get pretty deep here, but I still recall like a lot of times back in the day when I would just be sitting there, and it could be at night, it could be at random times of the day, and I'd burst out into tears for no good reason, and have a massive panic attack, because I think to myself like, holy shit, I'm gonna die, like. I don't necessarily have as long as other people do, like 37, like, oh my God, like all these people that I know who are 37, I've only got until then. What can I fit in my life until then? Like, and I go into this massive frenzy and I start to cry and I start to not be able to breathe. I start hitting myself on the chest. It scares the absolute shit out of me, to be honest, man.
No, I can understand it. And that's the thing about when you have like a panic attack, a lot of anxiety, it's like right before you have that breakdown, I know this is how it works for me. It's like you start getting all these thoughts in your head. Like you have the one trigger thought, and then from there you start, well, because of this, it's going to be this, and this because of that, and that because of that. And next thing you have like 30 different things that are just floating around, and they will bring you to your knees.
Absolutely.
It's unreal to me how that works, how easy a thought. And this is why I talk so much on this podcast about your mind can be, well, it can be your greatest ally, but often a lot it's your greatest enemy, because that person that you see in the mirror, that's your competition every day, you know?
Yeah.
That's what's standing in your way from achieving what you want, because your brain controls everything. It's the driver of the car. And, it's like I tell people with weight loss, like if you don't have that relationship up there fixed first, you might as well not even start, because you're not going to get very far. That's why people, they start and they quit, and they start and they quit, and they start and they quit. They slide backwards because the relationship in their head isn't straight. And this thing isn't done over the night, by the way. It took me over 10 years to get my act together. 10 freaking years. And we talk about life not being guaranteed, and here we go. I mean, at any point I could have been a goner. 5 years ago I could have been a goner, and I still didn't have my act together. Not even death, near death, the thought of death got me to get my act together at that point. It still took me almost 2 more years before I really started getting it together. I mean, it blows my mind how the mind works, you know?
Absolutely, dude. And like where that comes from as well, like my pardon me. My usual oh damn, you got the authenticity today. Oh man. So where it comes from usually with me is when I do burst into that coughing fit, like
right,
and I'm coughing to the point where I throw up. Like I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, well who's going to want to deal with that in the future? Who's going to want to wake up next to someone who's consistently coughing and coughs himself to the point of throwing up mucus every morning? Like,
right.
And then I think to myself, great, like things aren't going to get any better. This is the way I am. When I get sick, I freak out because I'm like, okay, great. What if this is it? Like, what if I don't go back to how I felt a week ago and lifting weights in the gym and feeling really good, and this is it? It's all gone. Like, that's where the panic tends to set in for me.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I mean, that's you have one trigger, and that's how it starts for so many people. It's just you have one trigger thing, and it just brings you into an absolute spiral that just takes you out of control. Now, on the flip side of that, Jack, what is the one thing or the couple of things that gets you out of bed every morning, that gives you, happiness, a reason to get up every morning and go on with life? What is it that motivates you? Obviously, we can talk about the gym. I definitely want to talk about the gym, but what are some of the things that really get you motivated?
The main thing is that I know that I still have a life to live, and I know that I've got to fulfill that, and I kind of owe it to myself and to my parents and to like all the friends around me that have supported me for this long. I still owe it to them to live the life that I should be.
Right.
Like not letting CF get in the way of that. And this is where I come to like all the traveling. Like something that motivates me every morning to get out of bed is to get up, go to work, go get money so that I can do all this stuff that I want to do with my life. Like that's probably the second thing, is rolling out of bed, doing as much as possible. Like I could sit back and say to myself, okay, you've got CF, you can sit back, you can live off Centrelink payments, you can live off the dole. Like, what's that? Like, you get $300 a week or something from Centrelink, or you could go out into the real world. You could still be a normal dude and just work your ass off for what you want to get.
Absolutely.
And that's where I've come into, like, I've got 2 jobs at the moment. One, I work at a gym. Second, I work in radio. Like, I've got 2 completely different ends of the spectrum there, and I absolutely love that because it changes things up.
That's why you sound so good on this podcast. Like, I'm listening to it, I'm like, man, he sounds crisp. The audio sounds good. You didn't tell me you were in radio.
Oh, look, I've done my fair share of interviews over,
Look at
especially
you.
last year, because like I won the Tasmanian Young Achiever of the Year last year in the service to the disability sector, and after that things just kind of blew up. So I did like a lot of radio stuff, and then after that I kind of got into it. So
I love it. I love it. There's a guy that I think you should follow, a couple of people I think you should check out, as far as making the most, living life to the fullest. I think that'll send you some positive energy, brother, because I think, anything positive is going to be a good thing. There's one guy, and I think of him because he traveled to Australia in a video I seen last year. There's a guy, Simon Wilson. Have you heard of this guy, YouTuber?
no, I haven't heard of him.
Okay. I'm going to send you a DM right now with his account. I want you to check him out because he always talks about how there's, that something comes from nothing, right? And you got to live it up. You got to make the most. This guy travels the world and does challenges where he lives off of no money.
Yeah, far out.
So I'm going to send that to you. That's number one. And then I think also there's another channel called Yes Theory. Have you heard of these guys?
No, man.
Okay.
I'm not very up to date with this, am I?
Dude, I'm telling you right now, these guys are so inspiring, man. You got to check them out. And they're built upon, getting out of your comfort zone and seeking discomfort and living life to the fullest and just saying yes and going for it. So I'm going to also send you that account. I just think, thinking about what I could send you that's like positive vibes other than our great conversation here, of course. I think these are a couple of people that are just built upon positivity, and I think you should definitely check them out.
Yeah, man, 100%. Definitely will after this.
Definitely. So I see you in the gym. Where does that come from as far as wanting to, you were talking about bulking up and all that, where does that inspiration come from? Is it from watching the wrestling or following other sports that made you want to be very athletic and lifting weights and all that stuff?
Like I've always been a pretty I guess you could say athletic dude. Like I used to be very fit. I used to do like boundary umpiring for AFL down here, rugby league.
Right.
Like I used to do, you could name any sport as a kid, I'd try and do it. And then obviously watching the wrestling, you see all these big buff dudes and you're like, oh my God, like I want to look like this. Like get me out there like Randy Orton, like get me the pecs, get me the arms, like the chiseled abs.
Jack, I can hear Vince calling already. Jack, I'm going to give you $1 million. I can hear him right now just calling out for you.
Oh, man, I will happily take that. I will fly to America in a heartbeat if he gives me $1 million. Damn.
God damn it, pal. I love it.
Oh, man, your impressions are on point, dude.
Oh, thank you. It's what happens when you watch wrestling for 30 years of your life. This is what happens. You used to watch the old wrestling, right? Back in the day.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
God, you're killing me, man. These are too good. Too good.
Oh, this is. I used to sit there and watch. My mother would ground me, and the first thing she would take away is the wrestling, all the figures, all the tapes, everything. That was the first thing to go whenever I was in trouble.
I can say the exact same thing here, man. Like when I was a kid, this was back probably at the start of the kind of the new Raw where the new stage was brought in and all that sort of stuff, and it was starting to change. And Mum and Dad would have a parental lock on Fox 8, which is what they'd stream it on down here.
Right.
And because usually it had started about 3:00, so I'd just be getting home from school, and if I wasn't good, I was not allowed to watch it because the parental lock would be on the channel.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I 100% relate to that, man.
Well, here's hoping. You talk about 37 is the average age, expectancy, man. I'm telling you what, that's like 16 years away. There's a lot more life there. In a perfect world, if you went all the way up to that and even surpassed that, which I think you will, because I think you have the heart of a warrior. And I think that you were just built to freaking crush it every day. Like I'm seeing in these photos, like, dude, you might come over to the States, man. You might be challenging some of these top athletes. Who knows, man? Anything's possible, right?
Exactly, my man. And like when you say like I've got like 16 years ahead of me, I look back at when I was like 16, and that was kind of almost the turning point for me, because on your point before of like what motivated me to get into the gym,
Right.
is that I went to like my normal clinic, which is the 2 to 3 month checkup, and I sat down and I'd get my BMI done, my weight and my lung function, and my lung function would be sitting at anywhere between 60 to 70%, and my weight was pretty much, I think, about 45, 50 kilos back then,
Right.
which is a far cry from the 75 I am now. And I look back at that, and I was pretty much told that my BMI was almost the equivalent of a Ethiopian child.
Okay.
So you imagine someone who's in like a third world country, who's starving, like their skin and bone, like
Yeah.
that is what I was the equivalent to back when I was like 16, and I was like, nah, screw this, like something's got to change, and
Right.
if I keep living like this, I'm not going to be able to do anything that I want in my life. And I just turned to the gym, and I'm not going to lie, I turned to the gym, went for a year, I quit, and I had
Wow.
about 8 months off, didn't want to do anything. But then I went back when I was about 17 and a half, maybe 18. And I thought, no, screw it. Like, I'm going to get into this, and I'm going to do this big time and not look back. And I look back now and I'm like, I do not regret one single bit of that.
Definitely. And when when you go and get these checkups and you see your doctors, like when they look at you now that, you're working out, you're lifting and all that, do they find you to be like right on par with where you should be? Or do they even find you like ahead, like you're doing better than expected? Like what's kind of the thing that you get from them?
Usually it's on par, which is nice. Sometimes I can be a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time I tend to be pretty on par. But since I've started this new drug, it's started to stack on the kilos, which I've noticed.
Yeah.
So I've started to put on a fair bit more weight. So when I go back, probably it's in about 2 weeks' time actually. When I go back, I'm really hoping to see a fair bit of change since the last time I went.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is too, they're really big on cardio, and that's where, like, I know you love your cardio, so I'm gonna try and not offend you with my statement.
Okay.
But I don't go much on, like, with my CF, like I don't go much on cardio.
Sure.
And I've kind of made my change majoritively through weights, whereas they tried to push me to do so much cardio. So I kind of look back at them now and I'm like, well, I've done this amazing change through the power of lifting weights. Like, don't get me wrong, I still do my odd cardio, and because I have to keep the lungs ticking somehow.
Of course.
But I kind of like to make it a little bit more fun. So, like, you do, like, you hit stuff instead of just the walking on the treadmill and all that stuff. And I guess I'm in a lucky position where I can do all that stuff, but some people aren't.
Yeah.
And the treadmill and the stepper and all that is what they can do. And by all means, 100% go and do that, because you are amazing for doing that in itself. Like, and that's what I like to reiterate to people, is that there is a lot of hate in the gym as well.
Yes.
And people like to stare at people, and that's what kind of drew me off the gym in the first place. Because I was, as I mentioned, I was really, really, really skinny, and I'd be here lifting these baby weights, not knowing what I'm doing, not having a clue at all. And I just felt like there were eyes watching me in the back of my head every time that I was doing something, and it scared the hell out of me. And I wish that at the time I had the supportive people around me like I do now to tell me, no, that's not what anyone's thinking. Don't give a crap about what anyone else is thinking. Just go in there, do you, and then walk out a better version of you.
1000%. And this is the thing too, like, you know, you can't be a dick to people in the gym. And, you know, right now is kind of a time where a lot of people are trying out the gym. You know, they had like the new year, new me, new resolution, you know, throughout the month of January. And some people probably already quit already because they don't feel comfortable. They feel the anxiety of people watching them and wondering like, ooh, you know, what are they doing and all this kind of stuff. And it's just rude, you know, to be like that to people in the gym. I don't like that at all.
No, I absolutely hate it, man. And that's where, like, I see, because obviously, as I mentioned, I work at a gym. So I'm working there Monday through Thursday, and I can firsthand see, like, the anxiety in people because I know how I felt back then. And that's what I like to try and do, is make it more of a welcoming space and make it so this person motivates the next instead of this person judging the next.
Right.
Because that is just what I can't stand, and is the bullying that comes with it, and people bullying people for being too skinny, or people bullying people for being too large. Like, I hate to use the term fat because that's just rude. Like, they may be a bit larger, but, you know, you don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what has led them to that journey to be that size, or if they've got a health condition that they can't fix. Like, that's where people couldn't see why I was so skinny, was because I had CF. They probably just thought I was the skinny little runt who didn't do anything. Like,
amen. I mean, that's really what it's all about. You cannot judge people that you don't know their situation, you don't know their background, you don't know what they've been through, you don't know the circumstances. Just, you know, either support them or get out of their way, pretty much. Like, that's how I feel in life. It's like, you're either with me or you're not. And if you're not, it's fine, but I just don't have time to deal with that, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, and that's the thing with, like, toxic people as well. At the end of the day, you may be good friends with them, you may be like really close to them, but if they're not going to support you at the end of the day, you've just got to cut that out, man. Like, I this is probably a bit deep to talk about, like, on here, but, like, I recently did that with a couple of friends that I had back in, like, last year. Like, it was just starting to become so toxic that I needed out, and it was starting to affect me mentally. It was starting to become a competition between everyone, and I didn't like that. And I was just like, no, I can't do it. And I just cut all ties, and in all honesty, now I feel 100% better, man.
No, I hear you. I went through something kind of similar. I had a person in my life who was, I don't want to say like a good friend, like, you know, we hung out a couple times. It was, you know, kind of like associates, but kind of like acquaintances or associates, you know, just underneath friends. And when I first started the weight loss journey in 2017, like, he was like, dude, man, you're going to crush this. I got your back. Like, go Gary, you know, let's do it. And then, like, 8 months in, he just completely ghosted me, like, stopped talking to me. You know, just was not supportive at all. Like, just pretty much didn't even talk to me. You know, he unfollowed me from social media, which is, I don't really care about that, you know, but then he came back for like 3 months and was like watching every one of my stories and like pretty much stalking me, but like he would never talk to me. It's like the weirdest mind fuck ever. And I'm just like, you know what, bro? Like, your shit is broken, not mine. You made this choice. I have no time for you. Like, I don't care about you. I have no time for you. I'm done with you. You may thought you were done with me, but actually I'm done with you. Cause I want to spend my time and invest my time in people that are good people. Like, we have similar goals. We have similar interests, and we're actually in it to be friends, not time for people that just want to be weird.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you there, man. Like, it was a similar similar situation with me. And something that I just wanted to touch on, like, as
Of
well,
course.
not to sidetrack too much, but you were saying about, like, that you don't care about, like, if he unfollowed you on Instagram or unfriended you on Facebook and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
That's a major thing that I feel contributes to a lot of people's anxiety nowadays is the social media. Like, I need you to follow me, you need to follow me, you need to be my friend, you
Yep.
need to support all this. And that's where I kind of got lost in the social media realm. And I've gone through stages where I've deleted it, I've got it back, I've deleted it, I've got it back. And at the end of the day, I was starting to base my life off if someone followed me
Yep.
on social media. Like, that was the milestone. Okay, such and such followed me, I'm officially cool. Or such and such unfriended me or unfollowed me. Sweet, end of my life. Like, there's nothing else out there. And I look back at that now and think, like, what were you thinking, Jack? Like, that's just, it's petty little stuff. Like, it's a social media. Like, it's not the be all and end all. Like, yeah, it's amazing to share my story on and to share your story on, and you get that support. But if someone unfollows you or unfriends you, it's not the fucking end of the world. Like,
yeah. We only got one life, man. We don't have time to be worried about who's unfollowing and all that stuff.
Exactly, man. And, like, it's not like if someone follows you on Instagram, it doesn't necessarily mean, like, I could have people from all over I do have people from all over the world who follow me, and I'm not necessarily friends with them. Like, so why am I basing my life off if they unfollow me?
Yeah.
Like they're there following my journey, but they're not here next to me, like, actually supporting me. Like why am I getting so cut up about it?
No, I agree. And actually, I wanted to steer the conversation to social media anyway. So it was a smooth transition, Mr. Radio Man.
No, see, I'm just so used to it, man.
No, because this whole podcast was built amongst a community. Like, that's how this whole thing got started. I was sharing my journey on Instagram. I said, you know what? I've been doing podcasts. I used to do a bunch of wrestling podcasts, which would probably be right up your alley. But I used to, do all that stuff. And so I started this podcast about my journey. And then later I'm like, I should really start talking to other people about their journey so we can get multiple perspectives and different points of view. And so this whole thing was built on social media, but I learned a lot in the last year or so of really going hard on social media, investing most of my time that I dedicate to social media, like on Instagram, and learning behaviors of people. Like, there are people that will follow you. They will never say a single word to you. They won't like a single photo. They won't comment on anything. They won't DM you. And if you don't follow them back, they will unfollow you. Now, this is fine.
Man, yep.
This is fine because there's a lot of, like, businesses, they do follow, unfollow, and all that stuff. But then I've actually had people where they'll follow me, they won't say a thing, they won't like a thing, nothing. And then, like, I'll get a DM like 2 months later, I'm unfollowing you because you never followed me back. And I have a pretty hard and fast rule when it comes to social media. Like, if you're somebody that actually engages with me, like, I actually, like, you're not just some ghost follower. Generally, 9 times out of 10, if you're not some business or some creepy Herbalife person that's going to pretend to be my friend and then sell me pills or shakes or whatever, like, if you prove to be like a real person, we have real conversations, 9 times out of 10, I will definitely throw a follow back on that, and because I know that there are some people that they really want to see that. And as long as you're somebody that's actually a real person, not trying to sell me something, I'm happy to do that. Like, there are actually people, Jack, this is a funny thing. I've heard this before, and this is why I don't care about, how many people I follow. I actually heard people say before, people that are like trying to become famous on Instagram, they're like, oh, well, I don't want to make it look like I follow too many people. Like, I want to have 10,000 followers, but I can't follow more than, like, a couple hundred because I don't want to make it look like I'm following too many people. And I'm like, man, if that's where your head's at, your shit is really broken. Like, if that's what you're thinking, that is the wrong That is the wrong way of thinking. This is about
Yeah.
community. It's about being social. It's about interacting with people. Come on.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, man. And like you get all these like accounts that have 10,000 followers and only follow like 2,000 people or 300, and you look at them and you're like, okay, well, what's your content? Like, what's going on here?
Yep.
And I'll be the first to check out their profiles, but if it's just like some random account that I know is literally going to unfollow me the next time I put up a post or a story, what is the point in that? They just want to gain more followers to make
Exactly.
themselves look good. Whereas like myself and you and like John's doing, like we're building a community
Yes.
that can interact, that can talk. Like I've had one instance is there was a lady who followed me on Instagram, would have been probably a year and a half, 2 years ago now. And her name's Ash. She's absolutely lovely. I had no idea who she was at the start, but she started liking my posts, commenting. So I thought, okay, I'll look at her profile, and turns out that she actually has a baby with CF. I think he's about 1 now. I could be getting that completely wrong, and I hope she doesn't listen back and hates me now. But he's like a gorgeous kid, and he's an absolute like ripper kid, and he's got CF. And what she's doing is trying to interact with these other accounts of people that have CF so that she can get an understanding for herself on how to bring him up the right way and the healthiest way.
Definitely.
And we've become really close. She sent me a flower chocolate bouquet thing when I was in hospital. She lives in Brisbane, man, and I live in Tassie. Like Brisbane's on the other side of Australia, and she's managed to track me down and send me something. Like that's the power of Instagram, is the social like outreach that you get, and the friends that you make, and the community that you build. Not this follow for follow or follow and unfollow crap. Like that just does not entice me in the least.
No, and that's really, incredible when you meet these people, make the connections. It's like, I talk about, one of my goals for this podcast is to be able to afford eventually to travel across the globe. And instead of sitting here on a damn Skype call, like we're sitting in the same room talking face to face.
Yeah.
That's the goal, because I love when I meet people from this platform. Like I think I've interviewed probably 5 or 6 people that I actually met off of Instagram, never met them in person until we sat down for the podcast. And every interaction I had was like, everybody was cool. They were all super cool. And it blows my mind, the power of the community and what is possible.
Yeah. And like that's exactly my sentiments, man. Like I couldn't said it any better myself. Like some of the people that you talk to and some of the stories that you hear, it just makes you feel like, okay, you are doing something right. Like you're saying the right things, you're getting the right message across. It's not all for nothing.
Exactly. And I think it's great that you use your platform, your page to, bring awareness. You're talking with people that have, a young child in a similar situation, and you're able to help them. You're able to provide insight that they're not going to get from very many people. And that's got to make you feel good inside. It's got to be probably yet another thing to add to the positive side. If you can find many positives in having this, is that now you can take knowledge that you have, and not everybody's going to be exactly the same, even if probably the same disease, they're not going to have exactly the same thing, but like you're able to offer up insight to other people and help, more people. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, especially like in that instance of before, like when Ash told me that she's adding things to what she calls like her little CF book, and she's adding things that I'm saying on social media to this book,
right,
for her kid to read when he grows up. Like, and if I'm not here, so be it. Like, if I've passed away, my words that I have said now are still written down in that book for little Nixon to read later on in his life and hopefully make a difference in his life in the future.
That's incredible right there. I mean, that really is incredible. And one of the things I was going to ask you, and I know, we talked about it many times, tomorrow's not guaranteed. Next week is not guaranteed. But like when you look at some of the things that are on your bucket list and some of the things you want to do, like when you look at the next, 3-5 years or so, like what are some of the major things that are on the absolute top of the list, like goals, things that you want to accomplish in these next couple of years ahead of you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, my man. Like it's for me the top thing would be, so obviously I love the States, as I've mentioned before. I've gone to LA, Vegas, Florida, LA twice actually. I really want to go back there with my best mate. And we're hopefully planning to do that next year. And I really, really, really want to go to New York because I'm a massive theatre nerd, and
Yeah.
the dream of going to Broadway would be next level, and going to see just any Broadway show. And he's a massive theatre nerd too, so we're hoping to spend Christmas and New Year's in 2020 in New York and kind of see the ball drop in Times Square and
Oh, yes.
witness a white Christmas and all that sort of stuff. And obviously I want to go back to LA because that's where my ice hockey team, the LA Kings, I need to go back there and see my boys play again. Like I'm dying to get back there. I'd love to eventually compete in a bodybuilding competition. That's always been a dream of mine, is to get up on stage and do men's physique or something like that. And I guess they're probably, I don't like setting too many long-term goals,
Right.
just because obviously I don't know how long is guaranteed, and I kind of just want to look to the near future instead of the far away, because I know that I can achieve some of these things in the near future instead of the long pathway.
Well, I can tell you this. What are we at? February. We're in February right now. WrestleMania is in like 2 months, dude. It's in New York. John's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Why don't you just hop your ass on a plane or your hoverboard or something and fly over here and come to WrestleMania in New York City?
Dude, you don't realize how much I wanted to do that when I found out it was in New York, man.
Oh man.
I was crapping them.
I was talking with John about this on the pod. Well, yeah, you heard it. But we were talking about it, like possibly meeting up, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to go. And then I was talking with my friend, and he said, we should go. And so we decided, very last minute, because that's how I kind of roll, man. Spur of the moment. I don't know that you call 2 months out last minute, but like generally WrestleMania is something that you plan 6-8 months out. And I was like, you know what? The hell with it. It's only in New York. It's 4 hours. I'm just outside of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital here. So it's about a 4-hour drive, nothing serious. And we're going to go up there and do Mania in New York.
Trust me, man. If it didn't mean that I had to get on a like 15, 16-hour flight and pay some ridiculous amount of money that I currently don't have in my bank account.
Right.
I would definitely see you there, man.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know where WrestleMania is going to be in 2020 or even 2021 because they haven't announced that far yet. But I think that I'll make you a deal. Whatever WrestleMania is in the States that you can make it to, I will make damn sure that I'm at that WrestleMania. I want to make sure. I'll call John. I'll drag his ass too. And I'll make sure that whatever WrestleMania it is that you're going to attend here in the States, that we are there.
Man, let's make that a deal. I would like work my ass off to get myself to the States for WrestleMania, and all three of us will do it.
There you go. He doesn't know this yet. The podcast is now. You're from the future, so you could probably predict how he's going to react. But we'll find out.
I'm going to say he's going to be excited. That's my future prediction, man.
Definitely. And I'll leave you with this as we wrap up. I mean, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your open and honesty with this whole thing. I think we're going to help a lot of people understand and ultimately bring awareness, because that's another thing too, you know, as more people are aware of this and what it's all about. Dude, we're living in the future right now. We're in the greatest time as far as technology, and who knows in the next 5 or 10 years what things could be developed that could even potentially enhance your experience while you're here. Who knows that something new might not come down in 10 years from now, and it could prolong this thing even longer. So, you know, the future is bright. We just got to wake up every day and live life to the fullest. And as I like to say, I put this on a t-shirt. I love it so much. We have to fight like hell for the life we want.
Absolutely, my man. I couldn't agree with you more there. Like, and as you say, like with all the things that are coming out, if you'd told me a year ago that I would have been on this or can be and not having to pay $250,000 a year, like this or can be is going to prolong the effects and help me out and maybe add a couple of years to that life expectancy. That's a massive jump in itself.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if you were living through it at this age back in like the mid 70s or the 80s? I mean, the technology certainly in medicine was not as advanced as it is now.
I wouldn't even be here, man. And I can almost say that with a passion that I would probably not be here because the life expectancy back then was probably around 15 or 16.
Yeah. Yeah. There was actually a kid, I remember, story, the band Journey. I remember on their Behind the Music, they told a story about a kid that had cystic fibrosis. I want to say maybe he was 8 or 9, and they went to the hospital through Make-A-Wish, and they played him a song that had not been released yet. And they talked about the experience that was, you know, visiting that child. And I think he didn't last but another week at that point, because I think he was just so far, you know, into it. And it was like, I want to say he wasn't even 10. He was pretty young. But that's insane, man. I mean, just now, the time we live in, the possibilities are endless. So we just got to get up. We got to fight like hell for the life we want and just keep pushing day after day after day. Like tomorrow ain't guaranteed. And that's really the way to live our best life, I think.
100%, my man. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that motto any more. Like, and by the way, you totally have to send me like a link to buy that shirt because I need that shit. Like, you need that shit on a shirt. Like that is just the absolute motto to work towards, my dude.
That's right. Fight like hell for the life you want. I have another one that says, I am worth the fight. That's another one. It's you know, it's a strong message, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely agree, dude. Like those two statements couldn't sum up probably this podcast better.
Exactly. Now let me ask you this before we go. Are you I think we have like 15 more minutes, but are you aware there's like an All Elite Wrestling press conference? Do you follow those guys, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Don't get me so excited by the words All Elite Wrestling, my friend. I am so excited for it. Well,
they're having a press conference in 15 minutes on YouTube. Now this is going to really reveal how far in advance we record this, but it's about to go down, man. I'm excited.
It's the Double or Nothing one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's about the pay-per-view. Yeah.
Supposedly Kenny Omega's there, supposedly.
Oh boy! Oh, now we're talking.
You gonna watch it?
Oh man, yeah. I'm literally about to go to the gym, and you bet your bottom dollar I'll be having that right next to me.
Fantastic. Well, tell the people where on Instagram to find you. Where else you want them to go? The floor is yours, my friend.
Yep. So my Instagram is at ironlungs__, and oh god, more on authenticity. I do have a Facebook page as well. I'm not as active on that one, but definitely more active on Instagram. Also have a YouTube channel that's just under Iron Lungs. Should come up in one of the most recommended channels. That you can find my documentary there as well from back in the day.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I also, a lot has changed since then, which I like to kind of look back on as well. And I've got another like kind of mini doco that has been done, which is on my Facebook page. So you'll definitely find that on there if you guys want to check that out as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, stop what you're doing right now. Minimize your podcast app. Open up Instagram app. Type in this guy's name, Iron Lungs __. Check him out right now. This story is super inspiring. And dude, I'm telling you what, man, just keep your head up, brother. Keep pushing. You got this, my friend. I know tomorrow's not guaranteed. It's easy to say, don't worry about it. But my friend, you are on the right path. You are living as best as you can, living that best life. So keep your head up, keep smiling, keep flexing, looking sharp as hell on this Instagram, brother. Keep doing it.
I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you bringing me on here. Like, it means a lot, dude, and I'm glad that we got to have a chat and we got to share everything that we could, dude.
Well, we're gonna have another chat. Believe me, I'm not saying if, it's a when. We're gonna meet up. We're gonna meet up at a WrestleMania. It's happening. Lock it in. It's going down, brother.
Done deal, my man.
Thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
No problems, my dude. Appreciate you.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing the show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers. But act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show and I'll talk to you again really soon. Hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.